You're welcome back. This is Editors Forum. Wherever you're watching from around the world, we are live from our studios here in Lagos, Nigeria. We are on the issue of Mr. President's medical trip to London, and of course the fact that a peaceful protest was staged just yesterday by former presidential aide Reno Omokri, who has actually been a critic of this particular administration, especially on Twitter and of course on Instagram if you follow Reno. And Victor has been with me here, and of course he doesn't seem very happy with some of the issues on ground. But Deyemi Saka also joins us now, public affairs analyst, is also a public relations and media consultant, and lobbyist, independent intelligence analyst, and strategist, all the gists. He joins us now. Saka, thank you so much for coming.
It's nice to be. Apologies for joining you very late. I hope I won't be late for my wedding.
All right, just before you joined us, I shared with Victor the fact that it was Good Friday yesterday. It's Easter Sunday tomorrow. I'm not sure what it is today. Is it Good Saturday or Easter Saturday?
Let's just stay safe and play safe. Easter Saturday.
All right, so thank you so much for coming. Before we move on to the next topic, let's just get your reaction to Mr. President's medical trip and the fact that his media handlers, Garba Shewa, Femi Adesina, say, look, there's nothing to worry about. Mr. President is in a perfect condition. All he's just doing is a medical routine checkup. And then, of course, they also believe that Garba Shewa believes things that Mr. President made such trips even while he wasn't president of this country. What are your thoughts?
Well, for a man that claimed that towards the 2015 general elections, that was so broke that I can't afford the nomination, to pay for the nomination form for the APC, and that you are not hearing that the guy has been going to UK for routine medical check and average Nigerian cannot afford. You want to question the campaign of integrity or the claim of integrity. That is one. Two, during the long medical vacation, I think it was in 2016 or 2017, that he spent a total of 103 days. Unconfirmed reports added that the medical bills alone was £600,000. Add that to the logistics, extra codes and everything. And feeding and what have you. You want to say it's almost £1.5 million because you pay for hangar, the pack, what have you. And you ask yourself, and I came up with an opinion way back. I said, yes, Muhammadu Buhari, as a human being, not now even as a president, got to UK, and aside from God healing him, what brought him back to life was the instrument, the Medicare. Well, I mean the Medicare, the personnel on ground, the facilities on ground, and what have you. 2016 to date, if a man that seriously means well for Nigerians, if a man that is compassionate enough as a leader, if a man that values human lives and attach dignity to the life of an average Nigerian, I don't think there's anything wrong in Muhammadu Buhari as a president initiating a program that will have some, at least if it's just one in each geopolitical zone, 6 such of hospitals that I went to in the United Kingdom. But what have we seen? Since 2016 to today, we've seen our doctors going on strikes. We've heard the Minister of Health saying they should go into famine. So it's sad that we find ourselves here. And I think there is a need for what I would call public officers conduct bill. I have a version of mine. There's a member, I think we used to be a member of Katsina State House of Assembly. It was from Malufonshi, I'm not so sure if I got the name right. Came up with these as well. Then it was an opposition, I think it served the last dispensation, where every public office holder must use public institutions. You must use public hospitals. Your kids must attend state-owned schools. It's only then these people will fix these rots in this system. If their kids are not there, if they are not going to general hospital, I have a card at the primary health care center, Ave Road in Yaba. That's where I use. When I had issues with my back, I went to National Orthopedic Hospital.
Very quickly, maybe 60 seconds. I'll get your take on this. Between when COVID started last year, if I'm correct, last year February or thereabout, when it got into Nigeria, and now 1 year plus, is there a transformation or any improvement in our health system? Let's be very, very truthful and sincere.
No, because
no improvement whatsoever.
I even have some frontline workers that they've not even been paid the hazard fee they've been promised by the federal government. I have people that will tell you at the medical, we call them frontline workers that have lost their lives to COVID and nothing has happened to them. No form of insurance paid for even after their death, nothing to their families. Even those that are working have to be ingeniously creative in a bid to serve Nigerians. So nothing has happened. So it's not as it has improved, but I have traveled.
Whose responsibility to do that?
No, let me answer to that question. Between last year and now, no improvement whatsoever in our healthcare systems.
What happened?
If there is no improvement, who do you blame for that?
No, I'm just asking. Is there an improvement? Do you think there's an improvement?
Okay, no, you are the answer.
If there is improvement, why are they traveling?
No, let's not make you the guest for a while. If there's not any improvement, would there be need for Buhari to travel to UK for Medicare? Do you know what the budget yearly for? There was a time in the appropriation.
The president hasn't traveled outside this country for a while.
We cannot
because of COVID-19.
We can say it was because of COVID.
Because of COVID. And the question I want to throw back to is that if there was no improvement in the health sector, who do you hold responsible?
Aisha Brai just
the president is the president. If he has a minister and the minister is answerable to him, then we have a clinic.
Let me ask this question, which I threw earlier at you, Victor. The president is in London for 2 weeks. It's been tagged medical routine trip or medical checkup and all of that. Do you think maybe his media handler should have probably tagged it something else?
No, that's amount to lying. Well, if they have done that, we will not be surprised. We are used to them telling us.
Because we understand the president is going to be working from there, or he's been working. He's been there for some days now, so he's been working from.
We should ask questions. When the King Fahd, of Saudi Arabia, before he died, he told his nation what he was battling with. He went to, I think he died in an American hospital, if I'm not wrong. You see, it is not out of place for world leaders or nations to move to seek Medicare in some other climes. But we're asking the basic question.
I mean, thank you for that, because Victor,
it is not every time. It is not every time.
I'm coming. But for Muhammadu Buhari as the president and the commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that is said, their campaign was change begins with us. We should patronize everything. It's localized. Our lifestyle, we can't sustain it. We are the one that made dollars, the exchange rate high, or volatile, what have you. I would expect Muhammadu Buhari either to go to Dara and start taking herbs, or probably sit down in a hospital clinic.
All right, guys, we need to round up with this and move on to something else. I think we have a number of messages here. This one is from Sapele in Delta State, from Mo Emeke Peter. He says, protests held in London concerning the president's medication is a right step in the right direction. Thank you so much, Peter, from Delta State. And then this one says, tell Mr. Victor, this is for you, Mr. Victor, why do I need to go for foreign medical treat if we cannot make our hospital functional? Why do we need to send our children to school abroad if we cannot develop our universities to compete with foreign ones? General Buhari at UK, February 21, 2015, when he was in the opposition. My name is David Shaibu. I'm not sure we understand the very last part there. And this one says that, I'm sure this is for me, he says, okay, we will just have headache because your uncle is afraid of his job, and that is why he will not allow you to say the truth. In broadcasting and in this profession, I need to say this now, sometimes you have to play the devil's advocate, and it's always very normal to do so. All right, let's move on now to other issues. While we stay with the medical trip of Mr. President, the doctors here in Nigeria are on strike. I mean, even if the president was to even visit any public hospital, the doctors are on strike. Who would attend to him?
Is it Kelly? Kelly, you see, sometimes we make the simplest things, which even the elementary stage of logical reasoning, very cumbersome in Nigeria. Why should the doctors go on strike? What are they demanding for that they've not been demanding in the last? You see, it's so sad. Case Ngige is a medical doctor, and if as a medical doctor that could make such pronouncements against his profession, it shows you that I think when they get into office, there's a kind of spirit that possesses them, or I don't want to call it, there's a legion of whatever that possesses these guys, and they become arrogant
away from reality and all
they become arrogant in even how they reason, and they become sometimes offensively, infuriatingly illogical with their pronouncements. I don't know which laws he wants to invoke in the labor against the Labor Act against the doctors. Does the Labor Act tell us that you should maltreat, mistreat, underpay, or probably enforce or probably subject your doctors to suicidal missions? No.
5,000 naira for doctors as hazard allowance. Too small?
What is the figure? No, if our accept is small, if I can see the budget of Ministry of Labour and I see what is in the Ministry of Labour as in budgeted for entertainment and hospitality, then we could now, split it side by side with the 5,000 naira.
All right, Victor, let's hear your thoughts on this. 5,000 naira for as hazard allowance too little. I mean, as a matter of fact, in fact, this was
why are you asking
as way back as 1992, because the Minister of Labour and Productivity doesn't think, he thinks it's okay.
And that 5,000, is it being paid? That's what they are even going on strike, that they have been, that amount have been accumulated over the years. It's not being paid. It is more in the first place, but it's not even being paid. So who is going to risk his life, to care for other people when you are not being cared for? It's only in this country that we see all these abnormalities. The other time, last year,
all right.
Last year, in Nigeria, they are saying that Nigeria graduates are unemployable. But right here in Nigeria, they were given visa waiver. I think about 15 medical doctors to travel to Britain for their practice. It was Nigerian immigration officer that stopped them. So why am I bringing this up? If they are properly cared for here, will they migrate to another place? The answer is no. So if you don't want to take care of people, they will migrate to where they have value, where they are going to be properly paid. This 5,000 naira is not even being paid. It is more in the first place, it is not being paid. And those who are castigated that why should they always go on strike? I ask them, if you are working and you are not being paid, will you continue to work?
Yeah.
How do you transport yourself to your place of work? How do you pay your rent? How do you feed your children? So we are so hypocritical in this country that if it doesn't concern you, it is right. And that is the problem of the black man. Once you are okay with your family, hey, it's fine. That's why the African continent doesn't grow. It's the poorest. With all the natural resources God gave to us, we are the poorest.
Let me ask this question now, probably from the Ngige perspective, and maybe I understand the doctors have this oath or whatever they take.
I was going to come to that, Hippocratic oath.
And all of that. If one of us here, or maybe one of our relatives, probably has an emergency and needs to visit the hospital right now, who would attend to such a person?
Okay, now can I ask you a question? Let's now switch sides. Assuming a doctor now has his son or daughter is sick and is not being paid, and he needs to treat his child, even with the knowledge and everything, he needs to buy drugs to set the lines and everything. Where is the money to do that? These guys are human beings. They are not Jesus Christ. They didn't die for us on the cross of Calvary. So they are not meant to be sacrificial. They're meant to have. But they spent years in university to acquire this knowledge.
The arguments from the Minister of Labour Ngige is that if they do not work, we will not pay them. So there's a payment.
No, the question is, I want to ask.
There's a payment somewhere.
The question I want to ask Ngige, as the Minister of Labour, Ngige should tell me how many hours he works in a week to justify the pay he's taking home as the Minister of Labour. So not people that sometimes they will not see their kids. There's this disconnect between an average doctor and is either his spouse or his children. You are not there in their lives. And whether we like it or not, Everything has been monetized. There's a value to everything you and I did not get to acquire the knowledge we have because we want to be charitable with our services. Even non-governmental organization pays their workers.
All right, we understand that there was a meeting earlier on Wednesday over their grievances, and then the proposals were made, but the doctors rejected these proposals. But something also caught my attention. The Vice President had described the 5,000 hazard allowance as criminal. But then why was nothing done about it? Sometimes I'm wondering, why is the Vice President almost too silent and too quiet?
No, let me answer that. I think there's a need for us to call out Vice President Amidst. You should stop insulting our intelligence. It should stop it.
How do you mean?
I'll tell you that it's part of this government. It shouldn't come. You see, you don't act like you bite me and you blow the breeze to not let me feel it. It's part of this government. And if he thinks he doesn't have a say in this government, if he thinks his views are probably not appreciated or valued, then he should resign. He should not appear on my face and tell me it's raining. Oshibajo is in bed with this government. He should not try and excuse himself. He should stop sounding politically correct because he wants to appeal to the sentiments of Nigerians. He should stop it. I'm angry with that approach. All right, the same thing he did with NSAS protest. He should stop that thing. It is unfair.
Let's see, Victor.
It shouldn't be an orator.
They will always get away with it. That's why they talk the way they talk. If you say this thing is criminal, what action has it taken?
And it's a part of the economic thing.
Is it not part of the government? They always want to play safe. Because he's speaking to our emotions now, so that behind people will say, it's a good man, it's a good man. You are a part of the government, you say 5,000 is criminal. What action have you taken as a vice president? A vice president of a country, if you see abnormality playing out, can't you make correction?
And you can make correction if you attack, can't you just walk?
You cannot make correction. He's there, just sitting down beside you, know that he will walk down for his family. Why are you there as vice president if you cannot make correction?
Let's play back for a moment. Remember the fallout between OBJ and Atiku?
It was reported there was a fallout. But in spite of everything, I don't think, and I stand to be corrected, and I stand to be taken on by anybody, that the office of the vice president under Obasanjo's administration was useless, or was docile, or was just paying lip service to issues, or was just sounding emotional to appeal the sentiments of Nigerians. So I say this, and I with nothing against it. I will stand by them. Please, Vice President Amidst, you should stop insulting Nigerians. He's a lawyer, and I'm coming. He's a lawyer. I was starting. He's a lawyer, and I think the third schedule, Part G, and I, the National Defense Council and National Security Council, is the vice chairman of that council. He has not been allowed to such sittings and meetings, and he's still there as a lawyer.
What role is he playing in this government?
It's playing a role. It's meant to come out and sound like the angel.
Let's go back to the issue of the strike now. The doctors. Let's leave our VP for a moment and say
you should stop that thing.
Strike. If this continues, guys, I'm not sure it's going to be pleasant. I mean, they've only been on strike since Thursday. This is Saturday, just about 2 or 3 days now. If this continues, I'm not sure this is good news for us.
What do you expect them to do? If you have a father that's a medical
how can we resolve this?
If you are a medical doctor and you're not being paid, what will you do? You continue to go to work?
No, we can't.
You see, we like to deceive ourselves. I have said it before that once it doesn't concern us, it is well and good. That's the number one problem of the African man, and that's why you can see African leaders. It is only African leaders that prefer their country and take money outside of the country and borrow their own money and pay interest. All the money Africans are borrowing, it is their African money. They will steal it, take it abroad, you go and prostrate before the white man and borrow the money and pay interest. Tell me which other leader will leave his country at this point. When the doctors are going on strike, the first citizen of the country will be convenient and comfortable to go and seek medical checkup, not even treatment, medical checkup. Let us get it right. Just to test his body whether he has a problem of malaria or that is all. That's what made it. First citizen of the country. You don't have it. You are provoking me by this statement. If you don't have it, who is supposed to provide those things?
This conversation has to be balanced.
No, what is balanced? If we are talking about a first citizen of the country, you say we don't have equipment?
I'll tell you something.
Are you the one supposed to provide all the president?
Victor,
and we have a minister of health that is grouping billions every day, and you have a Asoro clinic where the president resides, and that Asoro is grouping 3 billion. Whether it has been increased now, I don't know. Every 365 days, and you are telling me that we don't have equipment to check a first citizen of a country, and you are comfortable to say it. No problem.
Let me say this.
Let's continue.
As we need to wind down now,
I'll make it very brief.
Discuss the last topic.
You see, for me, I think the first thing we need to do is to look into our curriculum across universities. Even the whole world have left us behind. There's something called medical engineering. I don't think we study in any university in Nigeria. Maybe except private universities. If that comes into play, we probably could have some of these things, preparing Nigeria for the future. Another thing I want to beg the Nigerian Medical Association to do is to approach the National Assembly with a proposed bill, sponsor a bill, call it public officer, whatever, that will mandate it, makes it compulsory for every public office holder to use state-owned health facilities. It's only when they know that when they get to the hospital, the PCN will strike, and probably while they're having an operation, or probably they might die on the theater bed or table or slab, they'll start fixing those things.
And you think that the crop of leaders we have would obey such laws?
No, at the point, you see, we just have to start. You will keep praying that the devil or God should use them and let them sign it into law.
All right, we have to round off now, but someone here says, good afternoon, sir. Valentine, comedian from Abuja. It says, why Buhari go travel to London for treatment every time when puts the hospitals here in Nigeria? Okay, a comedian, I'm sure, as says. Valentine, thank you so much for your thought. I think you're actually asking a question. Yes, guys, we have to round off now.